Becoming our fullest selves is a journey of the soul, mythical, magical, transformative. It requires of us to surface from the depths of our psyches what we may not want to see, know or feel, what we may want to reject. It is precisely our hidden grief, unspoken rage, fear, longing, and unknown joy that wants to know of us our courage. Are we brave enough to own its existence within us and not exile it to places we refuse to go? You say that you want to be whole and free. First then, descend. Find the gold hidden in the dark caves of your heart and belly. This is your rite of passage home. When you truly know all of who you are, you will no longer live in avoidance and fear of your vast human nature. Welcome to all of you. To those of you joining us live, I know a few people are catching the replay, so welcome if you are watching the replay later as well. And welcome to our new members, whether they're watching live or on the replay as well. As I always start off with, every circle, all of you is welcome. Every part of you is welcome. So all of you in general are welcome, but all and every part of you individually is welcome here too in this space. All those fearful parts, all the scared parts, all the resistant parts, especially to the feminine, all the parts that are maybe excited about the remedy of the feminine. But also all of the parts of you that are doubtful about the parts that magic is real, doubtful about the feminine being a remedy at all, and the parts of you who feel that the feminine isn't something possible for you. Every single part of you is welcome, all your fear and all your love. Just wanted to start with that, as I always do. It's so important. A big part of the healing remedy of the feminine is love, so it's really important to know that all is welcome. And how I'm feeling as I kind of begin to initiate women into their feminine mystery. The opening reading, I think, really spoke to that kind of real descent that is what we're beginning here, that the kind of the feminine in a nutshell is coming home to our vast human nature. There's a very kind of human element to the feminine. The feminine is here on earth, especially the witch is here to manifest magic on earth. So the feminine is really held in our human bodies, our kind of feminine bodies. This is all about the descent home. And today I went out in the wild, and the wild spoke to me and reminded me that there's just this kind of a deep sense of trust for what I share today. Often there's this temptation, I'm going to go into this a bit more, there's this temptation for me when I'm creating my masculine rather than my feminine to kind of over prepare. So this event has been very much about kind of preparing from the feminine. So I'm going to go into that to explore a little bit about what that means and how that looks as we journey through today. But I'm just really feeling that kind of deep sense of trust, and also I'm feeling physically. This is the feminine is in the body. I've just finished my bleed, so I've been very much in wise woman. Again, we'll be talking about wise woman as an archetype through the journey today. Very much been in my wise woman this week. So again, the whole week has been very much created from the feminine in order to honor that. You'll probably see that some of my posts the last few days have been very much about rituals, feminine embodiment, to really honor where I am in my cycle. So to just presence that as we journey into the feminine today feels really important. And also I was just having a beautifully nurturing conversation all about the feminine just prior to this with one of my sisters. So again, just really feeling that juicy feminine energy right now. And of course, the feminine has been a profound and huge part of my own journey. I had also rejected her descent in many ways, in all the ways. being very much in that kind of masculine energy of pushing, forcing, that I've been sharing in a lot of posts recently, that kind of often that being in that force, push, hustle energy that is typical of the secret witch, is a good sign that the feminine is calling you. But also we can then kind of swing into the opposite. Often again, my women will kind of feel like they don't need the feminine because they're kind of swinging to the opposite end of the pole of the masculine, that kind of doing nothing, kind of waiting for the universe to provide to us. That can also seem very feminine, but actually that is also still masculine. It's the kind of ascension path, and again I'll talk more to that tonight. But this has all been a part of my own journey. There's been so much expansion in my descent to the to my feminine soul, that I don't really even recognize the me of a year ago. So it's a real deep honor and privilege to be teaching her and initiating my women into her energetic, so that they can begin that healing journey for themselves. So yeah, it's a real honor, real privilege, and I'm just getting tingles as I speak that out. So yeah, really powerful. And of course, as every circle, this is an interactive circle. So yeah, feel free to ask questions, to share what's coming up for you as I share. And if you have questions, this is really great it gives permission for our other secret witches to share their own experiences, their own doubts, their own fears. So it's an interactive circle, as all of my circles are usually, and it's also intentional. So again, a bit like manifesting with the moon, this is kind of one part of the first part of the path, the 7-point path here in the path of invoking a witch queen. So this is an intentional, specifically this circle is an intentional taster of Invoke Your Feminine Mystery. And it's not just kind of nice to have witch play, not just nice to have kind of dressing up as the feminine. This is deep work of illumination and liberation of your feminine essence. And there's kind of the deeper soul integration that isn't usually typically found in other paths. And we'll come to that later. I'll be talking about how often women can kind of have that idea that they've done a lot of work with the goddess. So I'll be talking to that particular fear later. And there are typically a lot of fears for the secret witch. It's a woman who doesn't know her true feminine power and magic. So there's lots of fears that can come up for the secret witch as they even think about embodying the feminine. Often there's a lot of resistance more than anything to embodying the feminine. So if you're in a place of like real curiosity but also deep resistance, then know that is also not only welcome but likely a sign that she is calling you. But I'm going to start, as I do every circle, to really share my own intentions for today's circle, and then I'm going to invite you to share some of your own. So my intention, my vision for our circle today is to begin to help you illuminate the fear that arises in initiating your feminine mystery and helping you to choose it anyway, if and only if it is aligned for you to do so. To illuminate where you've relied on the masculine to fix yourself. I've been sharing some posts about this this week. Kind of relying, there's a typical sense in Secret Witch, relying on the masculine to fix yourself rather than owning and consciously initiating your feminine power and magic to heal yourself. And again, I've been there, I've experienced that. Another part of my vision is to open you to a sense of trust in your own feminine wisdom that is hidden in the depths of your bodies, which largely the secret witch ignores, and to open your hearts to a new magical feminine way of creating your vision, whether that's a vision of healing, whether it's a vision of a soul business, or whether it's something in between or a completely different. Whatever your vision is, it can be created in a soft, open, fully expressed, very feminine way, rather than this kind of masculine way of hustle, push, force that we're kind of used to in our culture, that's so valued by our culture. The feminine is often lost because the feminine just isn't valued in our culture, and yet the witch is so deeply important too. So yeah, I'm going to be talking to that. But for now, I would love for you to just share what your intention is. So if you're with us, then let me know. Just drop a comment in. And if you're watching on replay as well, feel free to drop a comment and let me know what your intention is for today. And I'll just give you a few moments to do that before moving on. seeing just some of the hellos. Hi Joanna, hi Beth, hi Alex. Just going to give you a couple of moments just to share. It could be just one word if you want to share that. Joanna, to open up to love. Beautiful. Yeah, the feminine is all about love, so that is just the perfect intention. Beautiful. Sure, new to this, I'm being drawn here. Oh yes, I love that. I love that. That's again a big part of this kind of feminine gift, is that kind of just following what we are called to, following our kind of soul call, our heart's call, if you like. Yeah, beautiful. So deeply witnessing you for honoring that part of you, that draw. Any more? Just give it another moment, and then we shall move on. So I'm going to continue sharing for now, and if you have any more, just drop them in the comments and I'll read them after as well. So yeah, just thought as I was out in the wild earlier, I thought that I would share very much how I created this event from the feminine. There was and then going into the wild was one of those parts, but I guess to start from the beginning, this crucible was one that really just downloaded itself to me. So this whole crucible came very much from that feminine mystery, from that place of not knowing. Often the secret witch will be deeply resistant to being in that space, but it's often the place of that creative tension, as the feminine is like this deeply creative energy. And so she spoke to me and opened my heart in order to receive her. So since then I've been creating from aligned action, channeling more and more about what she wants to bring through. And yesterday I've also been doing lots of feminine embodiment practices, as I mentioned, the last couple of days. So to give you an example of what this looks like and how this has kind of contributed to the creation of our circle even tonight, the feminine embodiment rituals that I've been doing yesterday and today is a lot of bathing in rose petals, bathing in bubbles, in rose oil, giving myself a facial, kind of being surrounded by candles. And this is intentional. So this isn't just, as I said, this kind of just playing with dancing in the feminine. This is really intentional kind of embodiment of the feminine, and the energy of the rose is something that my own soul guide channeled as a deep gift for all of us. The words rose, she had downloaded to her from the feminine as a gift, this kind of idea of the rose being about relaxing, opening, softening and fully expressing, which is absolutely a beautiful mantra for us all. So I just really want to honour her for this gift. But it very much is for me that the rose is very symbolic of the feminine. So being surrounded by roses, being surrounded by petals, by rose oil, is my way of deeply embodying that nurturing, specifically in terms of the energetic archetypes that we're talking about embodying, that kind of deep embodiment of mother and lover energetics, which we're going to come to a little later on. So I've been intentionally embodying her that way. I've been dancing to my wild feminine and yoni de-armoring playlists, playfully expressing through dance my maiden and my lover aspects of the feminine. And again, we'll come to what those are later on, but it's that kind of full expression of joy, which is often kept hidden by the secret witch, who doesn't feel she's worthy of taking up the space of being joyful. Other ways that I have created this event are really honouring, as I said, my wise woman, that kind of body wisdom, me being on my bleed. The wise woman archetype really wants that sacred red tent space, again often disallowed by a secret witch in her masculine. Often our bleed is seen as this kind of inconvenience by the secret witch, that there's this kind of sacred pause here to be honoured, which is deeply serving in terms of our capacity to create as women. It's like really being in tune with, the wise woman is really being in tune with our body's rhythms. And again, resting, kind of lying, listening to my feminine embodiment playlist, kind of journaling, setting the intention to receive to receive what to share today, allowing myself to receive the opening reading, the music, and often again this kind of resting, this can look very lazy. So the embodiment of the feminine can look very lazy, as if we're not doing anything, and this is again another kind of common fear of the secret witch as she begins to kind of walk in the direction of this path, that kind of idea of like that approval fear. What will people think of me? And again, I was reflecting on the difference between now and in the past, and really seeing, because as I was doing this, I put again a post in the Secret Witch group yesterday about my partner walking in and saying, I'll get our daughter because you're working. And I thought that is beautiful for him to just witness. My masculine king knows that me lying down, looking very lazy, is actually deep work. It's the deep work of the feminine. So often my women can really feel that disapproval shadow creeping in, like, well, who will people think I am if I choose to start creating from the feminine? So that one always wants some love. And then, as I said, the Wild Wonder. The Wild Wonder was beautiful for me today. So I often invite my women to go out and commune with the wild. Again, this is another way that the feminine creates. And that kind of temptation, for me especially as a secret witch, is to really over prepare rather than just be in my natural expression, by my natural truth. So I went to my tree and I heard, you don't need a safety net, which made me quite emotional. I was like, oh, yes, even this doesn't need the masculine fix. So the temptation is to always kind of have that masculine fix of logic, lineality, planning, control. And so, I just really saw in that there's no need for that script. There's no need to over prepare. That kind of temptation as a secret witch is there, especially for me in leading events. So this kind of, again, conscious choice to create today, to create the feminine mystery program Crucible from the place of the feminine. So the wild taught me that tonight was really about showing where I am with my feminine creation versus where I would have created from, because that is where the secret witch is typically creating from. So how I would have created this before would have been very much from a place of worrying about creating it all, about having so much to do, kind of ticking everything off my list, worrying more about what I'd say, scripting the whole thing for hours, really suppressing my own wisdom, my own desires, my own truth. I'd have just kind of sat at the desk all day preparing a big speech, kind of logically trying to figure out what I was meant to teach, and generally feeling quite exhausted from all that hustle. I'd have had like a million appointments in my diary instead of honouring the sacred space to create. I'd been rushing around, just never quite fully getting anything done with any kind of clarity, or not having the space, not creating the space for myself to create from the feminine, and really kind of seeking approval for even wanting to lie down and create that way. I likely would have also kind of argued with my partner because of so much to do. I likely would have been quite stressed, quite kind of pushing him away, keeping him at a distance, blaming him, and then probably largely would have numbed myself out with TV or social media, feeling quite exhausted and overwhelmed, and then demanding to be provided for by the masculine. And when I was out in the wild, it reminded me of the deep importance of really choosing not to create in that way anymore, to create from the masculine. And I had thought to myself, and I was like, I really wish that I'd got a flower for tonight to put on my altar, which you'll see actually just behind me. And then all of a sudden the wild just provided this flower, and I was like, oh yes, of course. Like, I could have hustled and kind of gone out intentionally to kind of try and find this flower that I desired, and yet when I was just in that kind of feminine flow and I expressed a desire, felt that desire, it just arrived in my lap. And often we can feel like creating from the feminine is very lazy. And it can also seem like that will mean that we won't have the abundance that we feel that the masculine provides. Often we feel like abundance, particularly with the Secret Witch, there's this deeper fear of spending money. There's that deeper fear of like the penetration of the masculine, and they can often think that that kind of the feminine way of creating can mean that they will lose that provision, when actually when we kind of sink into the energetic of the feminine, our energy as a feminine, and even our bodies as a feminine being, are built to receive. So actually very much the energetic embodiment of the feminine means largely that we will be better able to receive. So that kind of fear of spending more money, that penetration of the masculine, is often a common fear of the Secret Witch to the work of embodying the feminine. But without kind of embodying that feminine, we actually can't receive abundance, because we have our walls up. We're trying to fix it ourselves. We're trying to push, force, hustle for money, for abundance, instead of being that soft, open, relaxed, receptive, open, energetic, that magnetism of the feminine, which creates abundance as a kind of byproduct. And again, it's the same with the poem. I can set out thinking I need to find one and Google one and research one. But if I really tune into my feminine wisdom, often these poems will just land in my lap for creating my circles and things like that. So yeah, the way of feminine creation can look really counterintuitive. It's like it just looks so lazy at times, and yet the more and more I've seen that I've embodied my feminine energetic, the more abundance I have received. So yeah, very, very different way of creating. It really can look like it's not powerful at all, and yet it is the thing that has created the most abundance, the most joy, the most ease in my life. So yeah, that's it's really it can seem like the costs are high, but the costs of not choosing it are effectively higher. And yeah, the feminine really offers us that kind of new way of being that helps us to create all of life magically. So again, when I was out in the wild, I really heard the feminine is in your body. We can often think that the feminine is all about kind of wearing pretty dresses and dancing around, but this is a descent, ultimately a deeper descent to the body. This is about us being in our bodies. So yeah, and another objection that comes to mind here is that there's this kind of sense of in the Secret Witch that often they maybe want to invest in creating a soul business or something, and then kind of spending on their personal expansion it feels edgy for them. It's like they feel like they need to invest in creating their business rather than that personal expansion. And this is a common thing, again, the resistance that comes up with women who are feeling called to embody the feminine is that kind of idea that there's this masculine way of creating a business. And what they don't realize in that is that your expansion is your soul business. So we need to take our own medicine, discover our own gifts before we can offer those gifts to others. So that kind of expanding, that healing with the feminine is usually healing for the world. And that's very much been the case for me in terms of, I wouldn't be here initiating women into their feminine without having taken that medicine myself first. So that deep personal healing is kind of what is going to ripple out into your soul business and help you also to create it from love, from softness, from that relaxation, and from that truthful, full expression rather than fear. So yeah, I'm going to share a little bit more about my own initiation, because I was just talking about the feminine kind of being in the body, and my own initiation to the feminine was very much via the body. This is my own initiation was very much around birth trauma. I shared a little bit before about how when I was before I was about to give birth, I had a paralysed face. I had a very traumatic birth. It was it was a difficult birth, and it wasn't what I had visioned at all. And at the time, this was before kind of my descent into the feminine, I had been very much in my masculine, very much in that kind of real ignoring of my body. My body had given me a lot of signals, and I'd ignored and suppressed it, and it left me with a paralyzed face because I just didn't listen. And most secret witches are here completely ignoring their bodies, completely numbing their bodies in some way, and that's exactly what I was doing when I was called by the feminine. That kind of ignoring the body of its signals, its signs. It was letting me know that there was something to look at, and so my face became paralyzed. And what I'd also been doing, because often my women will either completely ignore their bodies and just completely dismiss everything, or they could also be in some form of spiritual ascension. And by that, I was very much heavily entrenched in an understanding called the three principles, which is a huge gift. But also because I misunderstood parts of it, I didn't quite see the full picture of this kind of union between spirit and soul. I was very much bypassing my body. It was like a sense of I just need to rise to the divine, and very much ignoring the body. So this is why I call it a descent. That kind of ascension path is like we're kind of ascending beyond our experience, and the descent, the feminine, is very much that call back into our body to begin to listen again to our bodies. And stop kind of bypassing them. And that was very much what was going on for me. I was ignoring the symptoms. I was kind of in this kind of spiritual ascension beyond my experience, and that's always been the case. The body has been quite a huge part of my journey throughout life. It's almost like it's initiated me over and over again, and I didn't really realize until this kind of initiation into motherhood that is what had been happening. And for me, that's things like my face being paralyzed. I'd also had in the past twice, I'd had chronic fatigue syndrome. I've had things like cystitis, painful periods. These kind of symptoms are, again, typical ways that the feminine will call my women, especially if they are feminine body things. That's often a deep sign that there is this kind of the body wanting us to listen. And just to talk briefly to that ascension path again, that can often, we talked about it a little bit earlier when we talked about how the secret witch can kind of move between the masculine poles of like either being overly masculine and pushing and forcing, or they can swing back into kind of doing nothing, which is that kind of ascension, bypassing the body. Like there's nothing to do. It's just a thought. It doesn't matter. Was kind of my mantra. In fact, my tagline as I taught that ascension path was do nothing. This again can feel quite feminine. So that kind of the idea of kind of leaving it to the universe. It's like often my women who are in that path will be like very much into manifestation and that kind of there's nothing to do, we'll just sit and wait for the universe to provide, and that can feel very feminine. In fact, I was having a conversation with a one-to-one client earlier about how this can feel very feminine, and yet it's actually masculine, because trying to ascend out of the body is this kind of masculine way of being, that kind of avoiding of the body. The feminine is all about the descent to the body. So again, often another objection from my women who have walked an ascension path is that they kind of avoid rituals and practices, and again, like they're in that kind of waiting for the universe to provide rather than being in the body. But largely that leaves you taking no action from your feminine body at all. So your feminine body wants to take action, but she wants it to be aligned. This is about the descent to soul. So if you come from this sort of ascension path, and you may not have done, it may just be that you're in like really being ignoring and suppressing your body's signals, but it's likely that a descent, if you've been doing that, is calling you back to your body. So you can begin to listen, you can begin to know what is calling you, what your soul wants you to know. So I had not kind of, when I was giving birth, I hadn't consciously initiated myself into the feminine, so it was very traumatic. I hadn't claimed my power from within each archetypal season of the feminine life cycle. And what I mean by that is I've since seen this pattern in myself and my women. There's this kind of pattern of really just unconsciously moving through the different archetypal life cycles of the feminine. And by those I mean the journey from maiden into lover, into mother, into wise woman and queen. And we're going to be journeying a little bit through those today in a moment in a ritual. But before I do, I'm just going to explain a little bit more about those, because ultimately these different parts of the blood mysteries, if you like, they're kind of each different blood mystery. So first bleed, the menstrual cycle, birth and menopause typically offer us this chance to initiate and consciously choose to move into the next phase of being feminine. So often we can, my women, especially secret witches, can kind of get stuck in maiden because they're not consciously invited. And this is something that our ancestors would have done. They would have honoured that kind of next phase as kind of this sacred rite of passage, if you like, this kind of movement from maiden into lover, that kind of adulthood, initiation into adulthood. And I began to see there was this pattern both in myself. This is something I wasn't initiated into, but it's also something that I've seen for my own women as well, my clients. And this is why it just kind of channeled through me this really, really powerful way of reinitiating our feminine, of choosing into these different archetypal parts of the feminine life cycle that can offer us a reclamation of our power and magic. There's a power and magic contained within each of these archetypal seasons of the feminine life cycle. And of course, there's a reason why this is especially true of my women. If you're here in this event, if you're here in this group, it's likely that you're resonating with being a witch, given that you are here in the secret witch circle. So the witch, if we think about her being in her full expression of the feminine, just was not allowed. If we think back to the times of the witch wound, witches were taught that was not safe. If you were your full expression of the feminine, if you were your full expression of power, if you were the full expression of joy, if you were the full expression of dreaming, if you were the full expression of your wise woman, especially, these words that I've just used to describe, they're all describing each individual aspect of the feminine life cycle. If you were the full expression of your maiden, lover, mother and wise woman and queen, you would have been burned at the stake for being who you were. So that ultimately our ancestors were taught that this wasn't safe, that we would have been burned for being feminine, for being in that feminine power and magic. It wasn't welcome. And so bless our hearts, our secret witch has got that ingrained in ourselves, passed through our DNA, that is not safe to be the full expression of the feminine. The masculine is valued in our culture, and we have learned to shut down that beautiful, beautiful gift of the feminine that can be reclaimed at each part of our life cycle. And yet, whilst it's understandable, whilst it's innocent, it is not the case anymore that women are being burned for being the full expression of their feminine. And so it is time to reinitiate ourselves into that, to allow ourselves to be in the full expression of the feminine. And what that looks like is allowing ourselves to create magically, to vision, to be in our feminine power, that soft, open vulnerability, to be the full expression of joy, of magic, of our wisdom. This is all of the stuff that the feminine invites us into reclaiming. And I've really seen how my women will just kind of really not have initiated themselves into that. They'll have unconsciously ignored that cycle, that cyclical living of the feminine life cycle, and disallowed it for innocent reasons, for fear, and there is a power in each of them just waiting to be claimed. And I really witnessed that mine, I was really initiated unconsciously into motherhood. That is where this became really clear, that without having embodied the queenly lover, the woman who knew her power to give birth, the woman who knew how to be her full truthful expression of her wild, the woman who just was able to trust her wisdom to give birth, to trust her body, to tell her to slow down. If I had known all of that, if I had had that initiation, that conscious initiation, I am absolutely convinced that my birth would have been different, because I would have had that kind of reclamation of power and magic to create that so differently. And this is available to us all. It's available to us in creating anything, not just birthing our children, not just if we haven't got children, these archetypes are powerful regardless. So some of the ways that the secret witch can kind of know that she's being called, that know that this is calling her, is the typical pains. There are 5. So there's that kind of feeling burdened, burned out, exhausted, tense and tired. That's a good sign that you have been kind of creating from the masculine, that kind of disconnect from that hypervigilance about your body, that kind of feeling that you can't honor the body's calls because you need to seek approval. You don't trust your own wisdom. And often you've kind of had some struggles with the modern medical system, kind of not knowing what's wrong with you. Things like chronic fatigue, things like period pain, kind of that feeling numb, lost, disconnected. And you've likely tried the masculine fix of all sorts of things, including doctors, relying on doctors and medicines that suppress and plaster over things. But also often that kind of taking that same masculine approach into alternative therapies, that kind of constant looking around to try and fix your health, juggling all the balls, working really hard on trying to fix your health. And again, you may have done the same with your emotions. There's that kind of, again, deep suppression of our emotions in a secret witch who's being called by the feminine. Often that kind of suppression or ignoring them or distracting from emotions, or spending that time trying to fix them. Often there's a sense of wanting to be rescued, rather than kind of owning our power to deeply heal ourselves. And again, the masculine fix is that kind of distracting with things like TV, alcohol, work, social media, the things that I was talking about earlier, how I would have typically distracted myself, whilst also kind of feeling very anxious, that kind of relying on therapists, antidepressants, and maybe that spiritual ascension that I talked about. Again, another pain that the way that this shows up is really suffering with our feminine cycle. That can be another way that's typical for the secret witch. Those kind of female symptoms, maybe like cystitis. Often that, especially often, I was talking about another woman with this today, that kind of cystitis that can happen after being penetrated by the masculine. That is a big symptom of being called into the feminine. Again, like that monthly cycle pain, in your womb pain, and that exhaustion and fatigue as well around menstruation, around ovulation, may also have experienced miscarriage or birth trauma, and there may be some grief around that's kind of suppressed. Again, very much my own experience, and so welcome here. All of this is kind of guiding you to seeing, again, your body's wisdom wants you to begin to listen rather than being in this masculine fix. Again, often the masculine fix is that suppressing of your cycle with the pill, with other medicines that maybe have altered your natural cycle. And again, often another way, as I spoke to, my women often know they're being called by the feminine, is that kind of sense that you're here for more, that there's some gifts and deeper purpose that you're here for. You may be feeling stuck in some kind of masculine career rather or kind of, again, being at home looking after the children in a kind of very masculine hustle way, but this deep longing to create a heart-led business, but getting stuck in ideas about what you should be doing, how you should be doing things, rather than kind of being in your magnetic full feminine expression. So that masculine fix of like forcing, pushing yourself, working hard, often doing some courses on like logical masculine courses on how to make more money, how to create your business, which is that kind of very more logical step-by-step perspective. And again, really often struggling, another pain is really often struggling in building intimacy in relationships, whether that is with a man or whether it's also some of your sisters. There's that kind of sense of really having your walls up, this masculine fix of wearing a protective shield of armor, closing your heart to relationships and intimacy. And these are all signs that you are ready for the remedy of the feminine. And I've called it the remedy of the feminine because my recent discovery from the mystery of the feminine for myself is that my gift is to be almost like a living homeopathic remedy for women. So my soul name, my unique archetypal name is Alchemilla Queen Witch of Ancient Medicinal Truth. So I am a trained homeopath, which is an energetic medicine, but I don't prescribe. And instead, I bring the ancient medicinal truth of homeopathy to the mainstream via energetic initiations. And so during Feminine Mystery, I'll be dosing the women who choose to join me with the remedy, the healing remedy of the feminine, so that you can stop fixing yourself from the masculine and reconnect into that deep feminine wisdom that's hidden within your body, so that you can become your own deeply healing feminine remedy for yourself. And so we're going to go into a ritual soon to begin that process tonight. This is the taster of the very first session of Feminine Mystery. And often as we do, there is deep fear in the secret witch. So the invitation of the feminine is to begin to learn to love these fears. And just some examples of those are often things like, is this really real? Can embodying my feminine really heal me? And magically, I was thinking about this earlier, and I had a client tell me earlier after one conversation that we had, and really I'm always dosing the feminine. After one conversation, and I didn't realize this, she journeyed through Creatrix with me. She said that she had begun to heal after an initial conversation from chronic fatigue to the point where she didn't feel like she had it anymore. And that was amazing. It was like really profound. So magically, like yours, like my own journey with chronic fatigue just kind of activated her. Me sharing that again activated her into that kind of healing medicine for herself. And that my truth tends to ripple out like medicine for others, so they can begin to see what's possible for them. So the real deeper question in that previous question of like, can embodying the feminine really heal me, is actually, is it really possible for me? That's the deeper fear that is there in the secret witch. Is healing by embodying the feminine really possible for me? And yeah, that right there is very evidence for that. And it's also how I've healed, how it's the path I've taught others. It's the path that my own soul guide has shared with me. So I know that this is the path that can deeply heal, but you have to choose it for yourself. And that might take a lot of love for you to do that. But this path is all about, the only requirement is hope. These are kind of about kindling that hope into possibility, into belief, into knowing. And that is the journey that the feminine takes you on. But all that is required is hope. Again, we talked about the idea that the feminine sounds lazy, that kind of approval fear. And of course, it's this is the work. This is something that wants love. And ironically, the feminine mystery is the exact medicine for this. For this fear, this typical fear that the secret witch often has, as she's called, and kind of dances around choosing it. Again, another fear is that kind of feminine sounding weak. That kind of fear of, again, that penetration of the masculine in whatever form that takes. The fear that our vulnerability as women will have us obliterated by the masculine world, of our deep sensitivity. If we are allowing ourselves to be in the deep sensitivity of the feminine, what will that look like for us? Who will we become? What will happen to us? Is it safe? Often the secret witch will miss the very power on offer in her beautiful, courageous vulnerability. To her, the idea of power always conjures up this idea of masculine power, the way of power looking quite kind of as if it's going to obliterate us, but the feminine holds a deep power of her own, this kind of magical capacity to create. So again, that is a fear that wants some love. And the fear of kind of meeting her needs as well. There's often a sense in The Secret Witch that choosing into the feminine as a remedy is like meaning that she needs to ask for her needs to be met, which means that she needs to slow down, begin to consciously look at the deeper patterns at play. And that often requires her to take some space from doing that for everyone else. It requires you to kind of choose into allowing yourself the love that you give to others. And again, that takes some tending, it takes some love in order to choose that. But the question there that I often ask is, what's the alternative? The alternative is staying as you are, burning out. And really that's really calling, a deep call for the mother archetype there. And again, that sense of fear in The Secret Witch of, I really want to know how. Like, how does this work? That kind of fear of not being in control. When we're in the masculine, we feel in control. We have this sense, this kind of illusion of like knowing exactly what's happening. There's this logical linear path. And again, just brings me back to what I heard in the wild, like you don't need a safety net. There's again, the feminine mystery is the very medicine for this fear that often keeps women small. That kind of wanting to know exactly what's going on. And again, that part of you, if you're being called to the feminine, will want some love. This is feminine mystery. There is a magic in the mystery, and that is the only place where magic exists. So if you truly want a life of magic, there has to be a part of you that has love, the part of you that wants the safety, the security of the logical masculine way. To allow yourself to be in the feminine. And again, that is the very reason, again, why there is this deep resistance. Often my women will be called, they will resonate with all of these masculine fixes, and then there's this deep resistance, like, oh, I really don't want to be feminine, I really don't want to be in my feminine, for all of those reasons that she initiates you into all the things that you fear, the approval, the control, the security, all of your fears. Will largely be one of these three shadow fears, and that can look like a complete rejection of the feminine. It may be that you're completely against dressing femininely, just this complete deep rejection of the feminine on all levels, because you've only known the masculine way and that feels safe. And again, the question is, how is that serving you? We were not built to burn out, to be in this masculine energy. And I said it briefly, I'm just conscious of the time, but I said I'd briefly talk about the kind of Secret Witch. He's already done a lot of work with the goddess and has this kind of rebellious vibe of like, yeah, I'm kind of dressing as the feminine and dancing around, and like I'm riding a wild dragon. Again, yes, you may have done a lot of work with the goddess, you might have done a lot of work with the feminine, but largely this work is very different, unless it has come from love rather than the rebellious vibe of like sod you masculine, then you haven't done this work. This is the work of soul. This is grounded in love. It is not an energy of like sod you masculine, I don't need you. That's a very rebellious, shadowy way of being in the feminine. And often this is the way that other paths teach feminine embodiment. They're all about the rejection of the masculine. And this path is about embodying the polarity of the feminine. It's about embodying your feminine in order to beautifully receive the provisions of the masculine. If we're not able to, if we're kind of in that sod you masculine, I'm riding a tiger vibe, that rebellious vibe, we cannot receive the gifts of the masculine. And the gifts of the masculine include things like money. All of these things in our visions often are provisions of the masculine. So without being in that soft, open, expressed, vulnerable place of the feminine, that receptive energy, which very much is not the sod you riding a tiger energy, then we can't receive the masculine. And that is often what my secret witches deeply want to receive, and yet have this fear. So the invitation through those fears is to love yourselves through the resistance, through choosing the healing remedy of the feminine anyway. And paradoxically is the remedy that will offer deep healing for these very fears and resistances. So that was a lot of teaching. I didn't expect to be talking for that long. So we're going to go into a little visualization now, the ritual of the feminine, to illuminate more. So I'm just going to make yourselves comfy. I invite you to make yourselves comfy, and I'm just going to play the music. So settle down and claim your space. Maybe lie down if that feels more feminine. Close your eyes. Just take a few deep breaths and grounding into where you are. Softening. Noticing your feminine body. Noticing her sensations. Noticing her connection to the ground and the earth. Placing a hand on each of the feminine centers, one on the heart, one on the wing space. Nurturing, that motherly nurturing energy to those feminine centers, just checking in, witnessing the sensations that are arising for you as you lie here, noticing what's arising for you, what's arisen for you in that teaching, noticing the irritation, how long I was talking for. Noticing the desire to rush. Noticing the fear. And whispering loving things to those fears. Consciously opening your heart to our journey here now, allowing yourself to land here, to be present. Again, we're going into a visualization, so allow yourself to open consciously to being guided by the feminine. Somehow you know this is safe. Somewhere you can hear other women sounding joyful. Somewhere they're gathered together. You can hear them in the distance. Gathered around a fire. You know intuitively it's a circle of feminine witch queens. You're journeying towards them, claiming the space with them in deeply beautiful pathway through the trees. You can smell her beautiful feminine scent. Notice the path weaving through the trees. There's a woman standing in front of you. You see she looks just like you. She's wiser. She's more open. She looks softer. She has this beautiful, radiant, soft smile on her face. She's wearing a crown. She's graceful. Just stand there and taking her in, taking her fullness, her majesty, her knowing, her power. And she speaks to you and she lets you know that she's the witch queen part of you. You drink her in and say hello, marvelling at her beauty, witnessing her feminine dress, the way she sachets her hips and moves with easy grace. Witness her beautiful creative power. She's mysterious and beautiful in a really majestic way. She asks you, trust me to be your guide through the forest. Take a pause and notice and decide if you'd like to go with her. You sense she's offering you some kind of feminine mystery, a gift that you've not yet been offered. Notice any fears that rise, marveling. Witness them, love them. Begin to walk down the path, hand in hand with your queen, following beautiful pink rose petals. As you look down, you suddenly notice that you've become back in your little girl again, maybe about 14 or 15, the younger version of you, your maiden. Again, just feel, notice how your maiden looks, how she feels, how she moves, this younger version of you. Is she playful? Is she joyful? Or is she closed, compliant, passive? Is she longing to stay safe in her bud, not allowing herself to dream? Maybe she's rebellious. Your queen witnesses you noticing, and she points up at the moon, showing you that it's new, the energy of newness. She notices that your little girl just isn't feeling safe, so she invites you to let her know what she needs. You ask yourself, what is it I need in this moment? Your queen provides whatever it is, whether it's a gentle hug, stroke. She shows you an image of your little maiden playing, blossoming, dreaming. She holds her hand out and says, would you like to reclaim this power? Witness the fears that come up with this choice. Begin to playfully jump around and dance in the rose petals. As you do, you witness that the moon has changed. It's become slightly fuller. The temperature has become a little bit warmer. You're feeling a a summery energetic. Notice the feeling of being a little bit more mature, around the age of 25. You witness you're meeting the lover aspect of you. Perhaps she's someone that wasn't even initiated, you're meeting her for the first time. Again, your queen is here holding your hand, she reassures you all is well. And to notice, how does your lover look, move, feel? How expressed is she? How hidden are her needs, her desires? How magical does she feel? How in tune with her desires is she? Does she feel safe to be herself? Is she radiant? Does she feel grey and dull? Queen wraps you in love. You feel her warm embrace. She witness the fear that arises at the possibility of invoking the lover. She holds up a mirror and sees a version of you that is radiant, magnetic, beautiful, adorned with roses, beautiful jewels, beautiful dresses. You know, for whatever reason, she's a part of you that's been hiding, wanting to take up space. Feel alive in her presence. You feel yourself as you walk, nearing the fire, getting closer to join your sisters. And your queen holds her hand out to you and asks you, beyond your fear of how, do you long to join your sisters around the fire and reclaim the secret lover's power and radiance? You just witness your heart's answer. You don't need to choose. You keep walking hand in hand with your queen. You notice the moon is ever so slightly fuller. You tread down the path in the rose petals. There's a part of you here to witness that feels a little bit motherly. This is the part of you that has been busy filling up everyone else's cup apart from your own. And whether you have children or not, because there's still a motherly energy within you regardless, you witness this archetypal aspect of yourself as your motherly energy. Motherly of yourself. Witness her for a minute. How does she move? How does she dress? How much does she honour her boundaries and her wild nose? How much does she love herself? How much does she tend to herself? Notice all the ways your mother energetic has been denied by yourself. Goes to how her body feels. Is she exhausted, burned out? Or is her cup full? Does she nurture herself? Does she love herself? And again, your queen shows you a version of you that does. It's like looking through a window to a version of yourself that honours her needs, wraps herself in a warm hug. See your lovely energy showing up love and compassion for all the parts of you you've rejected. You stay at your nurturing mother who's given you maiden beautiful hug. You witness the possibility for love. Again, awareness is drawn to your sensitive sisters gathered around the fire waiting for you. So know that you don't have to rush. Deep breath in, and now taking your notice is full. And you notice just how beautiful the moon is with its deep wisdom, its cyclical knowing, how it just shines there in the dark, allowing its full expression. It's its wisdom, how it moves the tides without any logical explanation for how. Notice how illuminating it is, and you can see now the path to your sisters like fire, this beautiful moonlit fire circle of the feminine. And the Queen asks you to witness, wise woman. How far do you descend to your own body wisdom? How far do you live in alignment with your own cycles, with the ones contained deeply within your body? How far do you feel the feelings and listen to your body move from now? How far do you trust yourself? How far do you let fear lead instead of love and wisdom? Notice with complete love how far you allow this. The Queen holds you as you sob at the fears arise in the idea of choosing this. Again, you see a version of you that is deeply in tune with her wisdom. It's like looking through a window to a version of yourself that honours her body, listens to her own wisdom, intuition, and can powerfully heal herself rather than seeking masculine fixes. And the Queen takes your hands and asks you, do you long to reclaim your secret witch's intuitive, healing, wise woman energy? And again, you witness your heart's answer. Take a few moments, and your Queen offers you a deep choice. She wraps you in love, letting you know you don't need a safety net, because she is here, part of you. You just need to activate your power and magic. She asks you, would you like to join your sisters around the fire, and to embrace the living aspects to become the power and magic deeply of all of these feminine aspects of you that have been suppressed and denied. Wherever you are, whether in the fearful energy of your secret witch, your maiden, your lover, your mother, the wise woman, your Queen. Know that all of these deeply healing, mysterious archetypes of the feminine are already within you, waiting to be activated and initiated whenever you choose. They're waiting for you to choose and to initiate in their power, grace, ease, desire, magic, love, wisdom, truth, and music. All of them are there for you. And it really is possible for you to embody them if that is your heart's deep desire. And to close, just place both hands now on your womb space. Just tune in. Just consciously begin to dialogue with your womb, the centre of your feminine wisdom. What does it want you to know? What does your body want you to know? What does your feminine want you to know? What have you not been allowing yourself to hear? Place one hand on your heart, one hand on your space. Your heart archetypes are calling to you specifically. They want you to know. Take a nice deep breath in and a nice exhale. Sigh if needed. When you're ready, just bring yourself back to a circle. Gone over, so just rejoin us, and when you're ready, just let me know in the comments what came up for you and that. What was your experience of meeting each of these parts of you that are longing for initiation? Just going to give you a few moments to rejoin us. Just let us know. In the comments what came up for you. Just going to take a little look, see what comes up. Gold star to whoever shares first. Often the secret witch will be in fear about sharing what her experience was, so all is welcome with that as well. But I would love to hear whether now or on the replay, if you're listening on catch up, what came up for you in that visualization. Just give it another moment or two for you to let me know, even if it's one word. Sure, that was beautiful, so peaceful. Felt like I was being kind to myself. Yes, gorgeous, beautiful. That kind of real loving, energetic of the feminine. I can really feel that. That's I'm so glad. that feels good. Beautiful. Anyone else want to share? And thank you, Shah, for sharing that with us. Of course, all is welcome. So if there was some fear that arose and that was all that came up for you in this visualization, that is so welcome too. So don't be thinking, oh no, I was just in fear, I couldn't feel the love. That is so welcome. Beautiful. Well, I'm going to keep going. If you're still typing, I will come back to reading what you shared afterwards. But I'm just going to invite you now. We've got about just a few minutes left. Just take a moment to check in. Again, maybe just placing one hand on your heart, one hand on your womb space. Just taking a moment to check in with your body, your soul, and just witness what it's feeling about choosing powerfully to continue this journey. Is it ready to embark on the next step into this path? Deepening into body, into soul, into love, into magic, and just take a moment to really witness, allow whatever is there to come through. And if the answer coming back is yes, and this is something that you would like to now make more part of your life, then stick around and I will let you know how we can support you on that here at Team Secret Witch. Maybe this is your next aligned action. And then after I've done that, I will share a reading with you as well. But if you're feeling called to go deeper and be supported in that, so that you can really embrace feminine alchemy, feminine soul and magic, then the next aligned action for you to choose would be to consider joining us for the rest of Invoke Your Feminine Mystery. And as I said, this program means so much to me. It's something that I've seen transform my own life, especially around that kind of hustle, force, push. There's been so much deep healing. Everything, you know, my healing of my chronic fatigue, everything has been healed through the feminine. And it's a real privilege to be called by the feminine to share the gifts of her with you in that initiation. So this is an 8-week descent. So in your group of sisters, we'll be gathering around the virtual fire to embark on an 8-week descent into feminine alchemy, body and womb wisdom, and invocation of power. And if you choose to join us, you'll be consciously choosing to travel deeper into your magical feminine body, to learn to heal your relationship with the feminine, creating in softer, more loving, more magical ways, and becoming more intimate with your cyclical wisdom, reclaiming the power from each of the feminine life cycles in some of the deepest work of your life, yet in a really supported way. We begin on the 22nd of June, and if you choose into it, you will learn to become a woman who has begun her descent into the mysterious wisdom of her feminine body and is learning to honour the magic in the creative cauldron of her womb. You'll become a woman who's learning to sink into softness, open her heart to pleasure, joy, and her soul's desires, beginning to appreciate her body was built to receive. You'll become a woman who's starting to get back in touch with her passion, with what lights her senses up, with what brings her alive, and who is in doing so is becoming more magnetic, more radiant, more ready to receive what is in deep alignment for her soul. You'll become a woman who is starting to embody her nurturing, motherly energetic, providing herself the love she felt she missed as a child, and really nurturing her loved ones whilst keeping her cup overflowing herself. You'll become a woman who has learned to vulnerably and courageously open her heart to deeper intimacy with her sisterhood of like-minded souls, and of course in her relationships. You become a woman who's beginning to heal her relationship with the feminine, including those emotional wounds and the physical ones too, so that she can be in her power from love. And you'll become a woman who celebrates the deep miracle and wisdom in each phase of the blood mystery cycles as a powerful initiatory portal into feminine power and magic, and chooses to reinitiate herself. So ultimately, you'll be discovering a woman who has intimately met her feminine mystery, a powerful woman who's begun to love and listen to the mysterious wisdom of her body, is soft, open, beginning to come alive with passion, and expanding into her feminine power from love so that she can magically create her heart's deepest desires. The investment is £636. If you're feeling called, there is actually just one space left. So this is an intimate crucible. There are 8 women. If you are feeling called, you can either you can book an alchemy call. So I have a link that I'll share with you after, so I'll pop that link into the questions, and there's also a link to reading a little bit more about the crucible as well, so I'll pop both of those in the comments. But if you are feeling drawn, I am happy to openly explore whether this is something that is aligned for you as a next step, whether it is something with me, whether it's something else that I can help you with. So yeah, if you are feeling called, do follow that, and I'm happy to explore with you. If you've got any questions whether the journey is right for you, I am here, so feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, they're just really deeply witnessing you for joining us, especially if this is something that feels new, that feels uncertain. There's a deep power in you joining us, in you being here tonight. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of vulnerability to do that, so really deeply celebrating you. And of course, again, on the replay, please do share all that has come up for you. I am here to guide you. I'm going to share with a closing, actually, because this is a taster of feminine mystery. There are inquiries and practices, so I'm going to just share a couple of those and then finish with a reading. The inquiries are: what is your own experience of the feminine? Where are you avoiding and resisting her? And what are the costs and benefits of resisting her? How much longer are you willing to avoid her call? And for practices, I invite you again deeply to go out into the wild. This is a big part of the path, this kind of real connection with the wild. So after circle, I invite you to go out, allow yourself to be held by Mother Nature. Sit there, tune into your body, your heart, your womb space. What does she long for that you have been suppressing and not allowing? Does she long to return to her feminine body? Which of the archetypes are calling to you, and how can you begin to embody them? So those are the inquiries and practices for today, for this week. And I'd love to know as well, just drop in the chat whether your intention was created today by being here with us. I was seeing some of the comments. Shah says, thank you, such a wonderful experience. Joanna says, that was really powerful, thank you. I saw how much there is for me to heal and reclaim. Yes, gorgeous. And I know, Joanna, you're joining us. I'm really glad that you joined us tonight as well. So this kind of first opening and initiation. Yeah, beautiful. So I'm going to finish with a reading, and this is just one that came to me, again, very much from the feminine. So feel free to close your eyes as I read this, or whatever feels aligned for you. I have sent you my invitation, the note inscribed on the palm of my hand by the fire of living. Don't jump up and shout, yes, this is what I want, let's do it. Just stand up quietly and dance with me. Show me how you follow your deepest desires, spiraling down into the ache within the ache. And I will show you how I reach inward and open outward to feel the kiss of the mystery, sweet lips on my own every day. Don't tell me you want to hold the whole world in your heart. Show me how you turn away from making another wrong without abandoning yourself when you are hurt and afraid of being unloved. Tell me a story of who you are and see who I am in the stories I am living. And together we will remember that each of us always has a choice. Don't tell me how wonderful things will be someday. Show me you can risk being completely at peace, truly okay with the way things are right now in this moment, and again in the next and the next and the next. I have heard enough warrior stories of heroic daring. Tell me how you crumble when you hit the wall, the place you cannot go beyond by the strength of your own will. What carries you to the other side of that wall, to the fragile beauty of your own humanness? And after we have shown each other how we have set and kept the clear, healthy boundaries that help us live side by side with each other, let us risk remembering that we never stop silently loving those we once loved out loud. Take me to the places on the earth that teach you how to dance, the places where you can risk letting the world break your heart, and I will take you to the places where the earth beneath my feet and the stars overhead make my heart whole again and again. Show me how you take care of business without letting business determine who you are. When the children are fed, but still the voices within and around us shout that soul's desires have too high a price, let us remind each other that it is never about the money. Show me how you offer to your people and the world the stories and the songs you want our children's children to remember, and I will show you how I struggle, not to change the world, but to love it. Sit beside me in long moments of shared solitude, knowing both our absolute aloneness and our undeniable belonging. Dance with me in the silence and in the sound of small daily words, holding neither against me at the end of the day. And when the sound of all the declarations of our sincerest intentions has died away on the wind, dance with me in the infinite pause between the next great inhale of the breath that is breathing us all into being, not filling the emptiness from the outside or from within. Don't say yes, just take my hand and dance with me. That's so beautiful. I can't even really sum up into words why I chose that. I just could really feel it really moved me, it really touched a place in me. So I hope that you felt that too. It's called The Dance by Orion Mountain Dreamer, who's one of my favourites. So yeah, just wanted to share that with you. I am so honoured that you joined me. It's been an hour and a half. So thank you for sticking with me through all of that teaching. The format of Feminine Mystery is an hour and a half, but there is a great deal more of your sharing in that as well. So really thanking you for joining me, sending you all the love, and if you have any questions, you know where I am. Mwah.